1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Cash Bar, Diane. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I am excited about this episode and excited about our guest. We have on today comedian Jason Lawhead. He's been an opener for Bill Burr. He is the host of Browner and Lawhead on San Diego's mightier 1090 AM ESPN. Jason, thank you for coming with us, buddy.
Wow, that was impressive. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I was just like, wow, that's the best ever intro anything I've ever gotten in my life. That was amazing.
That's the most professional thing I'm going to do this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about, you chose I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash, which is a song that obviously I've always known. Like, we're born with it. It's installed in our brains. I had no idea who Johnny Nash was. I had no idea that he's a local hometown Houston hero. I had no idea what an accomplished musician he was. I had no idea his contribution to reggae and world music. I had no fucking idea about Johnny Nash at all until this week. Thank you for introducing me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that you say that. He died not long ago. Kind of in the middle of the whole COVID thing, he died. But lived a long life. And I didn't know anything about him either until something prompted me to go research the song that was number one on the charts the week I was born. I did that for a podcast. So it's funny because in the opening that we talked about, I talked about how I met my wife and at this time where things were good, but I was low. You know what I mean? Like there was a wave of uneven for a long time in my life and career. And it was shortly before I met my wife, I did this challenge with somebody we talked about, and I came up with the idea, like, what was the number one song? Do you know the number one song when you were born? What was it? And so we started doing it. So Google, right? Oh, amazing. You just like, there it is. And it was that song. And in a sappy, soupy kind of way, that spoke to me at the time. Mm-hmm. Right, because I needed some other like kind of someone to step in or something to step in to kind of go, you're thinking about it, here it is, right? So when that bell rung, that song meant a lot for me, and I started trying to live to that beat more, and better things started happening right away. Just right away, better things started happening. The reverb of other things settled, and I was able to kind of get focused on everything, and I was able to meet my wife and develop the kind of relationship because I was stepping forward from that song to be able to get comfortable with my wife early enough to build the kind of healthy relationship that can sustain and go long term. And then you look at somebody and go, I want your life partner. They look at you and do the same. So this song particularly is, me kind of trying to grow. It's like this from early 40s to 50 kind of growth. And that's when I found out about it. That's when I really found out about Johnny Nash. Because when I first looked it up, it was redone for the movie Cool Runnings.
Right.
Right. But Johnny Nash took it to number one on the charts in last week of October, or first week of November, 1972.
Nice. This is such a great story. Like, because you were saying, because you had told us before we started recording that she came to one of your shows and saw you on stage and then went back and did a background check on you.
Yeah.
Great. But say you hadn't heard this song or made this idea or decided to live in this more joyful, positive state. Sometimes that shows when we're on stage. Sometimes we can be on stage and we look like this asshole that no one wants to know in person. But obviously you weren't putting out that vibe or she wouldn't have been so interested.
Yeah. And luckily, I think it was from a period of time where, yeah, I started mentally and physically taking care of myself better, and it probably connected. Those dots probably did connect, Diane, and I didn't really even think of that when I think of that. But there's no doubt, because it was in that prior time, and it was an interesting examination. And so I used to offer it a lot in conversation. I'm like, hey, do you know the number one song? And then people are like, no, and you could just Google it now on a phone.
Yeah.
And you can just see it, and people get tickled, like, oh my God, that song, I love that song. Like, that song was number one. Oh my God. Or, like one that never like aged well, you never know, from the 80s, when you talk about like 80s babies, you're like, so it's a fun game to play. It's a fun game to look into, and it just was at the right time in the right place, and it was the right song. And Johnny Nash, learning more about him and his story from Texas and Houston, and having an interest in country western kind of writing music and all that kind of stuff, and deep roots that way. So his background, his whole music catalog, his whole thing was interesting. So it was just one of those things. It's like, hey man, Johnny Nash, who, look, you were stunned about what you found out. I was stunned. This guy went to number one. Like, there's a lot of different ways to get there, or however whatever your ceiling of accomplishments are, what you can be proud of. So he's a great, him and the song are just like great. It's like soup, like healthy soup. You know what I mean? Like, when you listen to it and you understand, you're just like, oh man, it's a nice, just I wasn't feeling well, but that soup feels good, that's what it's like. Yeah,
this song definitely, and it's his voice specifically. I like his version better than the Cool Runnings one.
Right.
And I was like, some antidepressant company had to have tried to use this in a commercial, and but who did use it was Windex.
Did they? Yes. That's hilarious. He sold the Windex.
Yes.
Or maybe he was like, hey, Windex is a good product. I really like Windex. Like, he might have already been in the Windex, like, camp from home. Like, look at the windows. Look at it, I don't have to do them. I get to pay somebody, but look how the Windex makes these French doors go into the studio,
Well, I teased Ben earlier because in research, I was like, oh, there was someone else that we've talked about a lot who died the same day as Johnny Nash. And I think Johnny Nash's death got overshadowed by it. You want to take any guesses? October 2020?
October 2020.
I know I'm going to kick myself.
October 2020. That wouldn't have been Norm Macdonald, would it have?
It was Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. Oh wow.
Well, we have this weird, like, we're scared we have this curse on the podcast because a couple of times we have talked about someone and then the next day they died, and it happened with Eddie Van Halen. We did a Van Halen Van Hagar episode, and then Eddie died. And then another time I had mentioned Coolio, and then he died the next day.
No.
And I was like, I don't want to talk about anybody else.
Oh my God.
I know. So
we're only doing deceased musicians from now on. I was thinking about, maybe learning the ukulele, but I'm not going anywhere near my wife plays the piano. I'm not. She plays the ukulele. I was like, maybe I'll learn the ukulele and take it on a, do a bit with it. But no, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it now.
I think you're safe. Sorry, while you guys were talking, I did look up my birthday and what song was popular. And mine's that's
number one. Just say number one. Oh, you could do a search. Number one on the Billboard charts for
the week of was Physical by Olivia Newton-John, and it did not affect my life as greatly.
Is that right? I don't think it would. Let's get physical. That's funny.
Mine is You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone.
Really? You light up my life. That song?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
That's not a bad song.
I lit up the world when I was born. There you go.
Diane lit up the room. Your Lifetime episode is going to be incredible.
Nice. Well, we can get into these lyrics, which, it's not a lot. I mean, sometimes we have songs where it's just so many lyrics we have to trudge through. but these are pretty simple and pretty good. So I think we can get through this. But really,
I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. And Johnny Nash, actually, he did the arrangements and he wrote the lyrics too, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Like, I don't know, I just made some assumptions about this song. I figured that it would have been like a studio piece, for lack of a better word. Like, it would have been a song that like a songwriter had written and then contributed to an artist. That's just
like a Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And I guess I only feel that way because it's been used in so many like movies and TV commercials and everything like that. It feels like it was purpose built for that job.
Yeah. Well, it was Jimmy Cliff who did it for the Cool Runnings remake. That was in '93. And that was a popular played song. It didn't make number one, obviously, but it was, and that was in the era of the music video and it was attached to the movie. So it was played often and time. And then so it's like a timeless piece that's just like, it's such a great song that every once in a while now people will, if they watch the show, there'll be that sensory overload. Like the next time they're going through like one of those classic rock stations in their car or whatever, and they might land, this is in the rotation. This is in the digital rotation of those kinds of songs that just keep getting played. So
yeah,
that's what I was excited about listening to this song and doing a little bit of backstory, because it kind of gave this song back to me. Do you know what I mean? Like I sort of felt like, because you've heard it so many times and because it's been everywhere, I stopped thinking of it as a piece of good music, and this allowed me to get back into that zone with it again.
Before you do the lyrics, real quick, I want to say, when I told my husband what song we're doing, and then I played it, and Corbin looked at me, he goes, "That's not a lady?" He goes, "I always thought that was a woman singing."
That's funny.
I was like,
people thought that with the young Wayne Newton.
Yes.
Sure. I did that with the Violent Femmes for the longest time. I thought the Violent Femmes were two gay girls my whole life up until last year.
Yeah. We did a Violent Femmes podcast, and he showed up the day we're recording. He's like, "I thought they were lesbian women." I
really thought that was the fun of the Violent Femmes. I thought they were two boy gay girls.
That's funny. I thought the whole title made sense.
So funny. Okay, let's do it.
This is "I Can See Clearly Now" by Johnny Nash.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Everybody knows the lyrics. "I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's going to be a bright, sunshiny day." I read, and they couldn't get anybody to confirm it, so the story might be apocryphal. I want to believe it, that Johnny Nash wrote this song as he was recovering from cataract surgery.
That's the rumor.
It seems too good to be true. It's one of those things
that can't be true. That's not true, is it?
I read
like, somebody wants me to believe it. All right, I'll believe it. Like, if I'm expected to believe it, fine. I will do no research to confirm or deny it.
Well, if that's true, then that's a movie. That's like, that's like a half a ray.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I read the same thing, but a story floated around, but they said there's no evidence to be true. His publicity people would sometimes embellish a bit to create talking points. One press release claimed that when he was a baby, he cried a song in the crib. So, there might be some fluff.
I can pee clearly now. That was that one.
So just to talk about this little chunk, I was just writing down, people were saying that a lot of people thought this song was about suicide, but they said it's not. But, we talk about things that can kind of make you blind and then you kind of come out of it. And just the quick list was coming off the spell of a bad relationship, when you're just blinded by, we've all been there, general depression, kind of coming out, and then drug rehab. That's a big one, like getting clean. But I was just gonna say, I'm in a women's group therapy. We meet every 2 weeks, and there was one woman for like the first whole year, just very introverted, very rarely talked, and I didn't know how depressed she was, and didn't want to get on antidepressants. And then she finally did. And when I say this woman blossomed into a new person, this song is the only way I can describe how she changed.
Yeah.
Like getting on the right cocktail, where I was like, her skin was brighter, her hair was beautiful, she spoke, she contributed, she smiled, and I was like, whoa, to see that change. Yeah.
So that this song could be like for the after picture.
Yeah.
You know, Windex. Visine would have been a good one.
So many.
I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day.
I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. It's just saying the words makes you feel good, doesn't it?
I mean,
yeah, it does. It's kind of like it's like a reading from a scripture you can understand. You know, you know what I mean? Like sentence structure, just flow, vibe, and just the feeling of just knowing that it just passes so smoothly and yes, it is. That's what it's to me. It's like a what a deep Bible verse means to some people, and so right there, just the way it all comes out at line after line after line, simple but elegant and poignant, to the hilt.
And it speaks directly to you. You don't have to know anything about the Sumerians or ancient Jewish mysticism. It's all right there in the text.
Yes.
No ancient Aramaic. My friend, it feels like relief to me. The song feels like relief. And my friend Carly, we've had her on the podcast. She always had the funniest way of describing just a good feeling. And it's a very strange way to describe it. But she was like, it's like pouring a warm cup of oil down the back of your hair. I was like, never in my life have I thought about what that would feel like, but that sounds amazing.
That kind of does.
Right. Not like hot, but
no, like a nice warm, like coconut oil or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of going.
I mean, it's going to take like 12 shampoos to get that out, but maybe it was worth it.
Like maybe if you're just at a beach for a week where you can let your hair kind of be gross for a few days in a row,
Mm-hmm.
That's what this song feels like.
Or home.
Or in your bathtub.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, or just here 3 days straight sometimes. But
Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's going to be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Very Jamaican island vibes feeling to this.
Yes.
Everything's going good, man. I'm not even going to attempt the Jamaican accent.
Dad probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, that's Jimmy Cliff's version, is the Jamaican accent. Johnny Nash has a little kind of, some more of a southern kind of, slow delivery.
That crystal clear, like I don't know how to describe it. Like it's like he was a stage actor and a film actor, so he's got that really like precise diction. Like, do you ever hear Rob Lowe talk and you're just like, there's no need to be so precise with the
I know.
Take it easy. You're not on a soundstage.
I know. Right? That guy is just, it's incredible how perfect Rob Lowe is with dialogue and just script every time. I know there's a lot of it takes, but just you're right. That's what I have been noticing that I didn't notice. You just made me notice that.
I get so distracted. I listen to his podcast and I love it. I'm just like, this guy is focusing on every fucking word. No slurring, no stuttering, no nothing.
Is there an overcompensation for that? Like, was he born from Louisiana and like doesn't want to tell anybody he used to talk like Boomhauer or something? So he's trying to overcorrect.
He's still hypnotized from the time. He's just in a hypnosis from the start. This is how he's being able to. If anybody snaps him out of it, he's right back to that guy.
Gets a little drunk and then that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm born and raised in Houston, and I've had people say I don't have an accent, and I know that I do. But man, when I get relaxed, it really comes out.
Yeah, you can hear it a little bit. It's not profound, but being around, I'm a kind of Midwesterner, so I have like we're not as hard as like Chicago or anything like that, but like I say like over there and stuff like that where you can pick up and you're like, are you from Cleveland, Chicago, Cleveland? So but you can hear little areas of like where you can kind of even when people lose it, you're like, hey, what part of the South are you from? You from Texas? Okay, yeah.
I can do it a little bit with the Southern accents. I can't do it with the Midwest ones. Obviously, I can tell the difference between New York and Boston and Chicago.
Right. Yeah, Chicago's got the harder, like, hey, what are you doing over there? But like we say over there, and like different things like that come out like R, like the R comes out like that a little bit, like and then Pittsburgh has like that yinzin and that kind of
water
yinzin and water and fixing to and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's funny you say fixing to, because I was just thinking in my head there was a time when I hit my 20s where I just stopped saying y'all and I stopped saying fixing to. And I wasn't even like, Diane, you're not gonna say that anymore. It just sounded dumb coming out of my mouth, and I said I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, fixing to is, I get it. It's nice. It's simple. But it's never come off nicely. I don't think it's just fixing to is just, in the modern world, it just doesn't, it isn't playing in the modern world, fixing to.
Yeah.
Ben here is Canadian, and so you've had to drop a little bit of stuff. I was going to say, editing the podcast last week, I heard a lot of your Canadian come out, and I don't know what was making that happen.
I don't know either. I moved down. I was 15 when I moved down here, so I stopped saying "a" my second day in high school. It was peals of laughter every single time I said it, and I said it at the end of every sentence. And of course, like every class I went into was meet the new kid, explain yourself. Like, I just moved down here from Canada.
It's great.
Your voice is somebody's that I can't. It's somebody. It reminds me of somebody. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. Voice.
I don't know.
Your regular voice, yeah, because it isn't an obvious Canadian. I mean, you'd have to really kind of, it isn't a true obvious Canadian.
Yeah, well, I've been in America, Texas for over 25 years now, so I think that's definitely softened my accent.
Yeah.
What's funny about that is my husband's entire family's from New York, Long Island, and but Corbin was born here in Texas, and his dad had been in Texas for a while, and so his dad still, to me, has a very strong Long Island accent, but Corbin gets this weird mixture where he'll say coffee and sausage in the same sentence, being like, what kind of sausage y'all got? I mean, he'll do it like, and I'm just like,
that's
what?
Strange, huh?
Yeah.
That's almost like a glitch in the programming,
really,
like, wait, what?
I was like, how do you do that? How do you switch like that? Yeah, it's really funny. Okay, yeah. In 2 lines we haven't said yet. Look around, there's nothing but blue skies, and then that's basically the end of the song.
Yeah.
Which
it fills everyone's heart with a glow. Like, it must be. It's certainly like the thing that amazed me about Johnny Nash's life. There are many things, but what really amazed me about it was the way that as his family said after he passed, he walked away and he stayed away. Like he has this number one hit that lives in everyone's heart, that lives in everyone's mind. It's almost like I accomplished that. How the hell am I ever going to top it? I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, I could definitely see him just sitting in a bar in Third Ward in Houston, just like, yeah, you know, every time you hear I Can See Clearly Now, I get $5. I get
Exactly. Right.
I'm done working.
Yeah, man. And yeah, that's the thing is at the end of the day, no matter how you examine his whole career and whatever, you know, whatever type of, I love music. I grew up listening to all kinds of different kinds of music. I had older siblings. I'm the youngest of 7, so I had the handover music from some of the 70s that I was too young for. But then, you know, went through, you know, the first cassette tape I ever bought was, you know, the Clash Combat Rock. And
Nice.
yeah, so like that was so you know, all kinds of different great music, you know, still picky though. Still really picky. And you know, there's real music critics out there, and for them, if they want to examine whatever. But what I know is when I look at that and this song, he left us that, like, there's not a lot of people, even with guys that you know that have a lot of, you know, great songs, they might leave you with one that you'll remember and is with humanity type of thing, that it's like a gift to humanity forever. Even the greats of all greats might get one out of their catalog that stands up to that kind of, like, just, you know, the greatness that's a gift forever for everybody. And he's got one of those.
Yeah. It makes me think of Journey could have put their foot down with Don't Stop Believing and left. They didn't. They kept going. But that's one of those songs, like, what if that had been a one-hit wonder and we would still just be praising it forever?
Yeah. 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 I mean, there's, yeah, you know, and that's the greatest thing about that song. It's like it's kind of like a gift to humanity. If you need it, I don't know. I stumbled on it. It was like meeting my wife in a way. It's funny because it's just like, you don't know it was gonna happen. I don't know. I was just kind of like, oh, whoa, who are you? What is this? Oh, that was number one. Oh, this song, wow. And then when I really explored it, because then I cared, it talked to me, you know.
Yeah. I love that story. I love how it kind of put you in the positive mind frame to open your life up.
Yeah, you know, just to know that you can create all your better all the time, you know. And that's what that's the thing. It's just like, you know, all these obstacles, you know, you're making them bigger than they are. You know, you just see them and get them out of your way, right? And that's it. And that was the biggest kind of message for me at the time. So just to kind of, and then as other things just kind of fell into place, and from there it allowed me to, you know, confront things that I was like, yep, you know, I got to go do the work to improve this, or do the work to be, you know, it made me confront a lot of the things that I needed to do through the steps of that song. Right. It made me confront. So that was another type of thing. And it allowed me to, like I said, develop, meet my wife, be not a nut job enough to chase her away, and, you know, be able to, because, you know, it was just, you know, things were just starting to get they were just feeling right. And that was part of the whole process. So yeah, that song, I go revisit that song when sometimes my wife will make a joke, like, when I, you know, because I still, as much as you try to get better in life, right, sometimes you just like, with this, I don't know if I can swear on this podcast,
For
but
sure.
yeah, where this motherfucker move is fucking, you know, in the traffic, and she'll be, I can see clearly. This fucking asshole cocksucking son of a baby.
You just give her a cup of oil and just let her
in my way. Yeah,
Love it.
exactly. So
like, obviously this is great, but there was a moment where it was like your hang on tight song.
Yeah, right. So yeah, you know, so I love that song. So when you presented me, you know, with this, it was fun because you just kind of threw me the premise. I was like, oh, I love the premise. And then I thought the great thing about the premise is it wasn't the, you know, I thought like, wow, there's so many songs. And I'm like, that song obviously is right there in the conversation. And then there was a couple other songs I was kind of like, well, I mean, when you just talk about like a song that makes me feel really like, you know, for the purpose of why we all kind of love music generally, that it's those kind of songs. You're just like, man, it just makes me want to just go to a concert type of song, you know.
Yeah.
See it live, right? There's those kind of songs too, right? So I had to, like, you know, but at the end of the day, like this song means enough to me where I was like, I'm sure it'll be able to open up a great conversation, because it was great that you even started it with Johnny Nash, Ben, because that was the greatest thing about your guys' reaction to this song is you immediately dove into Johnny Nash, and we went from there on the song. So that was awesome, because a lot of people might just know it from Jimmy Cliff and Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
Well, it was #1 with Johnny Nash, so hopefully some people might go, oh wow,
Yeah.
I guess I have heard that version, because they don't know if if they've heard Jimmy Cliff's version 7 out of the 10 times they heard the version, they always think they're hearing Jimmy Cliff's version.
Right. I didn't understand why the connection was between I Can See Clearly Now between Jimmy Cliff and Johnny Nash until I did a little bit of research. It was Johnny Nash that basically brought the world Bob Marley.
Yes.
Like with Johnny Nash, there's no Bob Marley. That kind of blew my mind this week.
Blew my mind. I had no idea of this connection.
Like literally met Bob Marley at a party. Like Johnny Nash he's an established recording star, but he's not big. He's had a couple of chart hits. He's been in a couple of movies. He's been on a couple of TV shows. He's been performing. He's like on the Tonight Show with Carson. So he's a real sort of mid-level celebrity. He's not big or global or anything like that. He goes to Jamaica because recording is going to be cheaper there with his business partner, a guy named Sims, who was mobbed up, as it turns out. And yeah, he was hanging out with Paul Castellano and the Gambinos back in the days.
Really?
Yeah. So Johnny Nash goes to a party in Jamaica and he meets this dude playing the guitar named Bob Marley. And according to legend, Johnny Nash is watching it and Bob Marley plays about 30 songs. And Johnny Nash immediately gets on the phone with his business partner and says, you have to meet this guy. He played 30 songs. They're all hits. You got to meet him. So they bring him in. He plays songs in the Jamaican studios. They sign him immediately to their tiny label. And then from there, Chris Blackwell of Island Records kind of comes along and sort of poaches Bob Marley for his bigger label. But
yeah. And Johnny Nash recorded Stir It Up. I always say it, Stir It Up, the way he does. Stir It Up first.
Yeah. Stir it up.
That's my favorite Bob Marley song too. I mean, he recorded it first, but Bob Marley wrote it. But that was always my all-time favorite Bob Marley song.
Yeah, Marley's great. I mean, when you talk about somebody that just has endless music that will live for, I mean, the amount of songs he has that will be played on whatever the sources are they're playing out in the future, 150 years from now, those songs will just keep being retread.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible. More than any other musician, his name is going to transcend his genre. Like I could see a world where you don't even, like, kids won't know the word reggae. It'll be like, oh, that's Bob Marley music. Like he's like
exactly
reggae musician. Like there might be people who know, we might know Jimmy Cliff or Peter Tosh or something like that. But
they'll say it's Bob Marley music. Yeah, exactly.
This kind of broke my heart. I can't remember exactly. Oh wait, here it is. So reggae wasn't really taking off in America until like some white boys did it, which is so annoying when that happens. But in America,
white boys named The Clash. Is that who you mean?
It said by 1972, Cecilia and Mother and Child Reunion found some success in the States, incorporating reggae rhythms, and so Nash followed that trend with "I Can See Clearly Now." Which I was like, all right, I guess we had to have Paul Simon open the doors for us.
Yeah.
Which is
somebody's got to shepherd this strange music into the mainstream for us. Somebody's got to vouch for it.
You can call me Al.
We've done an episode like that. So there was a story.
Have you done a "You Can Call Me Al" episode?
Yeah, we did it with comedian Matthew Broussard. That was his.
Oh, that's great. That was his. Was that his guilty pleasure?
No, it was the whole episode. I had sent Ben this like today, but there's this great story of so Bob Marley and Johnny Nash were living in South London, and
Crazy, right?
things weren't like, they were annoyed that like they had success in Jamaica, but things weren't hitting like the top 100 or whatever, and they had steer it up and it wasn't hitting the way they wanted it to. And they were at a bar at a club and just happened to meet this guy who was at a teacher at a boys' school, and they were talking about it. And he was like, the guy was like, you know, they're just drinking at a bar, and he's like, you should come play for my students. And left kind of thinking this is never going to happen. And then a few days later he got a call and they're like, yeah, we want to do it. And so he got permission, and there's these great photos, these great story about it, and these great photos, or else no one would have believed this teacher.
Wow.
Bob Marley and Johnny Nash came in. There was no microphones. They had all these boys sitting close to them in a gym, and they just sat on two stools with guitars and played like all these songs.
These young kids, like 12 or 13-year-old kids. Like, can you imagine how cool that would be? Like, your first live concert is Bob Marley in your school cafeteria.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
That's nuts. Like, you're totally spoiled from there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the two of them just went out and played like soccer in the schoolyard with the kids too. And because the teacher had told him, he's like, all these kids will buy your album if you do this. And then not long after that, Steer It Up went up in the charts, and they don't know if they can blame it on this or if it was just coincidence.
Wow.
But and this guy, the teacher, he was like, luckily I have a camera and I have pictures of this, or no one would have believed it happened.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you gain all that knowledge, unbelievable research by you guys, by the way. I was just like, I know some stuff about him, but I knew that him and Marley were friends, but no, I didn't know they bathed together in London.
We're 180 episodes in. We know which corners of the internet.
Holy, yeah, you guys are really scrubbing the story here. Anyhow, the point is, it goes to my point. I was gonna say is that it begs the question that if Marley doesn't die young, the work that these two might be able to churn out in a collaborative relationship through the 70s, as they even get older and better, you know, in the 80s, and then now sounds are changing, and the ability to use production in different ways. And I mean, who knows where that tree would have grown, and maybe even begs the question that maybe Nash just, you know, when he just kind of, you know, didn't have that collaborative you know, fuel, and
or maybe he was picky
what
on
that loss meant to him.
Yeah,
you know?
he may be real picky on who he collaborated with, and
sure, and I'm sure that loss was devastating to him, a young guy that he's coming up and doing things like this with. You know, that makes that's obviously they had a special relationship that I wasn't even like, man, you know, the fact that they lived together in London, you said.
I don't know if they lived together, but they were both. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were.
Or they roomed
there
together, or they at least stayed for a period of time while they were doing shows, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, that's taking chances and risks with people and doing all these things. Obviously they had a serious bond, and they had a flow. They had a flow. They probably were only just going to get better together as like friends and collaborators.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine the stadiums they would pack if they were just like, let's go on tour.
For sure. Oh, good Lord.
I'll do 35, or sorry, I'll do 45. You do 45, and then we'll come out together and do another 45 as a duo. The stadiums would have been a stadium act back in the 70s and 80s with that.
We're gonna have to do a Marley episode now, Ben. Jesus.
Exactly. We'll pull Sam Cooke out of the audience to sing a few bars. It's gonna be a hell of a show.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for 6 Degrees of the Clash? We're gonna watch that.
I'm ready for 6 Degrees of the Clash.
Let's do it. This should be a fun one.
Hey friends, and welcome to what should be a Guy Fieri endorsed episode of 6 Degrees, where this week we're going to connect the Clash to Johnny Nash. Nash's best-known song, I Can See Clearly Now, has been a cover staple of a number of artists, including a 2000 treatment by Chicago punks Screeching Weasel. A mid-90s staple of Lookout Records, Screeching Weasel's output for that Bay Area label included 1994's How to Make Enemies and Irritate People, which featured bass from Lookout's most famous export, Green Day bassist Mike Dirnt. Investing his money back in his home area, Dirnt was also part owner of the diner Rudy's Can't Fail Cafe, a place named after a song by The Clash. So this week we went Johnny Nash to Screeching Weasel to Green Day to a restaurant to The Clash. Back to Diana Beck.
I like how he's expanding his palette. Like what constitutes a connection.
That was, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was efficient.
After I was like a restaurant, freaking creative. That was good.
From a song named after a Clash.
Johnny Nash retires from music and he goes back to the Third Ward, the neighborhood that he lives in Houston. And he starts going back to the church that he started, and he starts raising horses, and he's the rodeo is in town right now. So Johnny Nash, I didn't know this, he basically hosted his own rodeo. He built a rodeo arena that is now a BMX and motocross track you can go to. It's called the Johnny Nash Rodeo Arena. I've never heard of it. It's not far from my house. Like I gotta go check it out.
I knew he got into. I did read about him where he did go into and just went and got a ranch in Texas and started having horses, and that's basically where he spent his time, and at the church and helping young musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of work. It's called the Sugar Hill Studio. My best friend, he was the manager of Sugar Hill Studio for years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did a lot with like young local musicians and but that's kind of what I just kind of, knew of his career after he retired, was just being a guy that was someone who was involved in their local communities and wasn't looking for the handout of fame to go along with it, So that's why mad respect for Johnny Nash. I mean, and he got to live a nice long life.
Yeah. Yep. Died of natural causes. He died during pandemic, but not from COVID, which is nice.
Exactly. But in 80 years, you write a check for that. 80 years with a career in music and a #1 hit that people still sing until your grandchildren will be gone and they'll still be singing that song,
Yeah. The last 48 of those years, you were secure in the knowledge that you had made a positive impact on everyone on the planet. Like that has to be satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
not many people get to say that.
Yeah, I bet he had no regrets, and he could go out in public and not get mobbed, which to me is the perfect level of fame.
Yes. It's the old saying, well, the only thing better than being rich and famous is being rich.
Yes. All right, did we wrap that up? Or are we on to our asking Jason his guilty pleasure song, which is my favorite?
I think we are. What is your guilty pleasure song, Jason?
Wow. Well, this was a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I hate to admit, I got a few of them. I'm more than when I explored myself and asked myself that question, I thought, man, you got a few that you wouldn't let a lot of your buddies or anybody else know that's the one you'd like to sing along with.
Well, don't feel bad about that, because Ben and I used to, at the end of every episode, both admit a guilty pleasure song, and then after like 60 episodes, I ran out. I was like, I think you got them all.
Oh, okay. So eventually you run out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good. I mean, if you're doing a show, I mean, I'm gonna still have a bunch suppressed in my. So I picked this one. I picked this one because I'm just weird about it. I don't know why. I got a little penchant for like yacht rock, and what? Do you love yacht rock?
Yes, because most of my early guilty pleasure songs, I'd have to just be like, it's another yacht rock song.
Okay. Well, this one I didn't get guilty about. Yacht rock. It's something I probably 20 years ago would have been like, get this freaking song. But this one, even at that time when I was like, get this stupid song off, this song was still like in this in this place, in this dirty place that existed, and I always loved it. And then once I was just like, I don't care, I'm gonna free myself. I like some yacht rock once in a while. This song only got stronger with me, and now sometimes I'll just sing it when I'm in a good mood to my wife, and she'll just be like, "You're like we'll be on the beach holding hands, like walking we live in Solana Beach in San Diego, so we'll like walk a little bit on the beach during the weather, and I'll be holding, and sometimes I'll just start singing Key Largo by Bertie Higgins. Which, I don't know if you know that song, but we heard it all. We had
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Backup,
Just like
Bogey and Bacall.
Yeah.
I love it.
There we go.
Oh, I can get down with some
Way
Christopher
in
Cross.
Key Largo.
Oh, it's so good.
Here's looking at you, kid. And the backup singers. Here's looking at you, kid. And all the things we did.
Here's looking at you, kid. Listen all the things we did. We can find it once again. Hello, just like they did in Key Largo.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I just get so embarrassed. Oh, I used to get embarrassed by how much I love yacht rock, and now I'm just like, it makes me feel good. I'm sorry. It's what I want to listen to when I'm next to the pool. It's what I want.
Exactly. Every time I hear that song, I'm just like, oh my God, a daiquiri, and just like maybe like a hot tub, and just like, just that right now, just like by the pool. Just, yes, that's what I think.
Sometimes I just have to just dive into my whiteness.
Yeah, exactly.
Super white sometimes.
Exactly. You gotta do what you're good at. Sometimes you just gotta admit the easy things that you're good at, execute them. And
Christopher Cross feels good. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, come on. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, I mean, and this one to me is like, if if you were to say, Siri, what is the best example of a yacht rock song? We had it all. We had and the music video. I don't know if you've ever seen or remember the video. The video is him just on a boat with some chick and the hair's waving, and they're on like one of those like kind of low riding cigarette power boats, and and it's just like we had it all. And so sometimes, yeah, like. It's fun. That's like my like thing. Like if we ever like anytime, my wife and I like, she knows that that's like a dumb thing I'll sing and say sometimes. Nice. And then like if we ever anytime we ever book a vacation, we're always just like, so we got it. All right, so we got boom, and I'll just go right into we had it all.
Were all your guilty pleasure songs yacht rock songs, or did you have any other crazy genres?
No, another one I thought was kind of a guilty pleasure. And I thought maybe this was used before, and maybe I didn't want to run into that, but it was I'm the One Who Wants to Be With You by Mr. Big.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who wants to be with you. Inside, I hope you feel it too.
I think that was big when I was
that was like when I was
in
in high school that came out, and it was just, they were like the last. They were like the the hair band era was like on its last leg in like 91.
Yeah.
There was the ones that were like going to be always internally famous for it, but like the ones that are just like trying to get an album or two, those were just falling into the sewer grate. That genre was dying, and they were kind of one of the last
Metal Torch song.
What's that?
That was like the last Metal Torch song. That's the last like guys with long hair doing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that was kind of like a dying breed. Yeah, so they were just kind of one of those last hits of that hair band that you never really heard of. They got the one album, the one hit, they're kind of doing the one thing, and then that was but they kind of were like, either like they were at the time, like they were kind of like, that's gay, like.
Would you consider that
91 attitude?
Would you put that in the same vein as like Asia? I feel like this is all Bob Biggerstaff favorite songs. You know what I mean? Like you love Sticks and Asia, and
Stick. Me and my wife have this. I have this like little inside running joke that I do with my wife, where I came up with a how great would it be if there was like a cover band music festival, where they had all the different stages, and I just started naming bands, and I was like, well, you got Stinks, and you just change one letter, it's the Stinks, and there's Sticks, and then you got Mumford. You got Mumford and Sucks on the main stage at 8. Zero Smith is gonna play the
headlining
all the worst cover bands.
My husband's a big punk rock guy, and he wants to start an old guy punk rock band called the Dad Kennedys, which that's
funny. The Dad Kennedys,
which is great.
I want to go one further and just pick an 80s genre band to do all the 80s songs. Just like the rest of you can stop touring, like you'll get a piece of the pie. But it's just Echo and the Bunnymen, and they're going to do songs by Church. They're going to do the Catch a Goo Goo songs, they're like all the songs that we used to do anyway. Yeah,
nice.
Catch a Goo Goo.
Catch a Goo Goo. Yeah, well, that was my whole era. I just
in one night from one band.
Yeah, that was my whole era. So you're probably right in that. I mean, I'm 50. I don't know, you know how old where your music tastes go back to, but yeah, that was my whole. My whole era was like I was really coming into my music tastes, at a time where right. I mean, we didn't even have MTV yet. I remember the day we got MTV in our house.
Yeah.
The first video, by the time that's when they had the long cord. This is like 80. It had to be 82, 83. And so I already liked music, and I was liking it more and more. I was about 10 years old by then. But the first video by the time they plugged it in, they were like, yeah, it's all working, ma'am. And I got to get to the controllers in my hand and get it to MTV. Mm-hmm. It was Rosanna was the video. Rosanna. That was the video that was on. That was the first video I saw on MTV. I'll never forget that day.
I'm 45.
I think the first video I saw was Dire Straits. We got to move these refrigerators. What was that?
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah,
a great video. That was like the fully digital.
Ahead of its time, that video was when it came out. Yeah. It was I was telling my wife about that, when I was because she's younger than that. So I don't know, we mentioned that in the
we talked about that before we started.
Yeah, exactly. So I was telling her, I'm like, because she likes that. I she's an old soul. She's got a great history of music, but she was never too much knowledge into Dire Straits. So I was telling her, and then she's like, "Oh, that's them, that song." I go, "Yeah." And I told her how that video was ahead of its time at the time. I was just recently telling her this just a few days ago when the song came on, and so it was that thing was being played on MTV. At that time, I was either watching sports or MTV, right?
Music videos were so good in the 80s. Huge. And they were so competitive. Do you remember how Sledgehammer blew our minds? How great that video was with the claymation and everything.
Oh yeah, and then was that Sledge? Yeah, the Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
And then you had Genesis did
Genesis,
that.
Yes,
with the nuclear explosion at the end, and
can't think of the name of it.
Yeah. There's too many times.
Yes.
Too many people making too many problems. Not enough love to go around. That was wild, right? That one came out. You're like, what is going on here? It's like, and then they're having these crazy dolls, and then the world blows up at the end. And those were great times to watch MTV because they were always playing videos, man. And you got to see it was like watching sports of music in a way, because you got to see the players being up close in a little scene that they created somehow, and you got to see them play that music that you love that came out on the radio and that you've been listening to and that you bought the tape, or if you depending on what year it was, the CD, if that had come out yet, or if you had the parents that had the kind of money that I was still buying cassettes in 90, my parents were like, no, you buy your own.
Well, it's also the reason. It's also unfortunately when musicians weren't allowed to be ugly anymore when MTV came out. There were no more Skinners making it big. I mean, you just couldn't be. I mean, I don't know.
That was a downfall, probably.
Ronnie James Dio wasn't getting the love as much,
no.
maybe. We talked about him last episode. All right, I think we could sit here and talk for 5 hours, but my kid is going to get off the bus soon. So, good Lord, this was a pleasure. Jason, tell everybody how they can hear more of you. Promote yourself.
Yeah, so I'm on Jason Lawhead Comedy on Instagram, and I had to do a new account. Instagram locked me out of my original. It's the worst. But so give me a follow there. You'll see all of my kind of posts come through there. I do a sports talk radio show that also lives on YouTube. It's on the show's called Browner and Lawhead, and Kaplan and Crew. I'm on that show a lot as well on 1090 AM sports radio. If you got listeners in Cleveland, I'll be headlining Hilarities April 23rd. I'll be in Vegas March 20th through the 26th. That's obviously the next big date that's coming up. So I'm at the Laugh Factory. If you happen to be in Vegas, you're cruising through for a few days, come by to a show. And this was fun. I could have given you 3 and 2. I could do this all day with you.
Well, we'll have you back then.
Yeah. I got more favorites and more guilty pleasures. So if you run out of guests or you need a, that's what I do a lot on the radio. I fill in, hey, this guy can't make the 3 o'clock. Come in there. So anyway, great meeting and talking to you both. This was fun.
So very much fun.
Thank you very much. He was a delight, wasn't he?
That was so fun. I feel like I was like, Diane, stop. If we start talking about 80s music videos, this is going to go on for 2 hours. Okay, next week, if we have a show, I think we will have a show. I just don't know if we're going to have a YouTube show next week because I'm doing another procedure, Ben. I'm doing some laser stuff on my face, and it's the kind where it's going to be peeling afterwards a little bit. So might be looking like I barbecued my face.
Wrapped up like Darkman. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know. So if I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling good, but I look like shit, it'll just be an audio show next week. So we'll see how that goes. But okay. I don't know if you don't have to agree to this, but it's March now. And I was like, let's do some Irish St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's month. I don't know. And I've just been jamming some Flogging Molly lately. And I was like, I want to do a Flogging Molly episode. And that it's hard to pick my favorite Flogging Molly song because there's some that I just love to listen to. But I was like, we're doing lyrics. So I want to do If I Ever Leave This World Alive, which is a great song that has kind of some dual meaning. Some people think it's about like him talking to his drugs about like, if I ever stop this drug addiction and get out alive. Or you can just take it as a straightforward, he's singing to his wife. This is what I'm saying to you. Yeah.
I am up for that.
Yeah. All right.
All March long. Get Brian Gallagher on the phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Vogue.
1,
2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher. Music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.